In a world where good comics are made into bad movies, three nerds with their Overstreet price guides at the ready fight to educate you about the truth of the best comic book stories. The hour of comics is upon us with hosts John Seymour, Keith Bliss, and Jason Gurin. Let's get down to brass tacks here.
Damn it, I was gonna say that.
I'm gonna introduce everyone again because when these are released, they won't be within 10 minutes of each other. So people are gonna want to know who I'm talking to. We have Keith
Months
Bliss.
later.
Keith
Hello.
Bliss, how's it going, Keith Bliss?
Oh, wonderful. I live at the beach. The sun's out. No buns are out. Thank you very much. This is an adult. This is a family establishment. You can't do that kind of stuff.
No, you don't walk around with your buns out in your house.
No, hell no. My girlfriend's kids would run screaming because they're pasty white.
They're like, what are those two pasty white half moons? Anyway,
It's more like
and
okay. Screaming.
Very nice.
You're welcome.
That was interesting though.
Yeah.
Jason Gurin, how's
Hey,
it
what's
going?
going on? And I thought the term was "suns out, guns out," not "buns out." But hey, you do you, John.
Well, you know what though? It's not me. That's Keith's life. I walk around with my guns out all the time. That means my biceps, by the way, not literal guns. And
I have old man strength, so I don't worry about it.
I see. Is that like strength or not strength?
It's I don't look like I'm strong, but when you shake my hand and I crush it, you're like, oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm old.
All right. And DJ Nik, how are you?
Doing well.
Poor Nick.
It feels like months have gone by here, but still going, still doing well. Thank you so much for having me on this panel.
Of course. And when people listen to this,
they're gonna be so confused.
They're gonna be like, why is everyone so entertained by this? Well, we said it already, and I'll say it again, because we just recorded our first episode of the day. We started less than an hour ago, so here we are again. And
same music.
Okay. Only this time it's Benedict Cumberbatch's music in The Grinch. I guess. I don't know. Whatever. So today we're talking about the first appearance of Doctor Strange. Today, I mean on this episode, we're talking about the first appearance of Doctor Strange. This is in Strange Tales number 110 from 1963. Funny enough for me, it took them 110 episodes to name one of their characters after the comic book. Strange Tales about Doctor Strange, 109 issues, not strange at all. Fantastic Four, as a matter of fact. What's strange about that? So, anyway, let's Keith, you want to say it this time?
What am I saying this time?
Let's get down.
Let's get jiggy with it.
Let's get down to brass tacks. You had your chance.
See, you've already. I don't want to recycle something you've already said. That's just lame. So I had to go be original. You stole my thunder.
So let's go down what happens in this 5-page first appearance of Doctor Strange in Strange Tales 110 from 1963. Quietly and without fanfare, Doctor Strange bursts onto the scene. I love it. They say it quietly and without fanfare. We just want to draw attention to the fact that we're not drawing attention to it. So anyway, some dude is having a recurring nightmare and goes to Doctor Strange to find out why. Doctor Strange, who is able to discorporate, sends his ghost form from New York to some remote house on a giant mountain in Asia. His master, whose name might as well be Master Exposition, tells him that if he finds himself in danger, he should use his magic amulet. He goes to this guy in his ghost form, who I can only assume he has gone to multiple times before that.
It's the Ancient One.
It is the Ancient One who will be named Ancient One later.
Yeah. I'm not saying Ancient One because he's not named yet. So, we're going based only on what we know from the first 5 pages of Doctor Strange ever. But anyway, I can only assume, he's like, oh, let me go visit my master. And the only thing he tells him is if you find yourself in danger, use your magic amulet. Because it feels like this is something that he should have told him before. I don't know. So
Does that amulet have a name?
No, just magic amulet.
magic amulet. I think it becomes the magic eye later, right?
Right? Amagato or something like that?
They're two different things. This would then become the
not the
amulet
same-
of.
All right.
This has become the amulet of Agamotto. The eye of Agamotto was introduced later.
And my favorite by the hoary lights of hoariness. That I just like that he uses the word hoary to mean white. Like so anyway, so Doctor Strange goes to this dude's house and enters his dream via spirit form. He sees a creepy ghost wearing a black cloak and wrapped with chains. It turns out that the guy in chains represents the evil that Doctor Strange's client has done. By the way, it's very awkward for me because for some reason this guy is not named. Like the only person who has a name is Doctor Strange and Nightmare later on.
And also Mr. Krang gets a name.
Mr. Gui, who is not actually seen, he's only referred to. So anyway, yeah. So then Nightmare, Doctor Strange's ancient foe, quote unquote, shows up when the sleeping guy wakes up and realizes that his dreams were the result of the guilt he felt for ruining so many people in business. Realizing that Doctor Strange is now aware of this and fearing that he will be exposed, he grabs the gun that he keeps handy on his night table and attempts to kill Doctor Strange, whose physical form is paralyzed thanks to Nightmare keeping him in the dream world. Doctor Strange mentally calls on Master Exposition, who is able to activate his amulet, which physically paralyzes the dude trying to kill him. Doctor Strange is able to leave the dream world so he can take the gun from the dude with his physical form and make him confess his crimes. Doctor Strange then tells him that confessing will be the only way he will ever sleep again. This was a cool issue. I mean, I liked it for a first appearance, but let's go around. Let's see. Nick, you want to go first? Get us started off here.
Certainly. Well, I will say that, I mean, once again, if you transport yourself back to the 60s when this issue came out, it could have been a little bit confusing or on one side, because like, who the hell is this guy? Why don't we get an origin story? And we don't really get an origin story 10 or 12 issues down the line when it came to who is Doctor Strange, how did he inherit his
fourth appearance. That's it.
Yeah.
That's when you get
the origin story. That's right. So, you're kind of like asking yourself, who is this guy? How did he get his powers? Who is this master that he speaks of, and so on? So there are a lot of questions, which on one hand, I guess can get you intrigued into wanting to find out more in future issues of the backstory and such. Other than that, I thought it was a decent introduction to the character. I mean, I love Doctor Strange on so many levels, and especially as the character evolved. And this is very much a product of counterculture. Because, of course, here you're slap in the middle of the 60s when counterculture is happening. Steve Ditko created this character. And as we would see down the line, it would get more and more psychedelic. And we actually do get a hint of that in these couple of pages, especially when we see the eye, which I think is demonstrative of the kind of style that Ditko would use when it came to the whole psychedelic issues when it comes to that. So it's fantastic. Also, fun thing that I thought was we get so many appearances here which are unnamed. We see Wong for the first time, even though he's unnamed. We see Forsyth, who's the unnamed guy who appears for the first time. Nightmare makes his first appearance, yet we don't know how the kind of, should we say, meetings that Doctor Strange and Nightmare had, because it's clear they're old foes. And so far, even now, we have yet to see the first encounter between Doctor Strange and Nightmare, which I think is fascinating and insane at the same time. But other than that, I liked the whole the symbolic thing of the chap in the chains symbolizing Forsyth's crimes and what have you. So I thought that was very clever. And by and large, I thought it was a good introduction to this character.
Sure. Jason.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it was a very good introduction to the character. A little bit on the basic side, but I think that's just because of how short it was. I don't know, maybe there was other stories being told within this issue as well. But maybe it could have used maybe another 3 or 4 more pages to, draw things out a little bit more. But like Nick was saying, everything was presented to us. We've got first appearances of unnamed characters. And as somebody who's read Doctor Strange now, but has never read a first appearance, as soon as he went into that dream world, I was like, oh, we're getting Nightmare. It's coming.
Keith.
What they all said, all of that. I agree.
Oh. All right. I like that.
What I appreciate or found, it's one of those weird things. So like what I appreciated and found weird at the same time is like he's been doing stuff like they're like, oh, and here's Doctor Strange. We all know like he's just been doing these things, and now we're just learning about this. Like he's just been doing things in the shadows, no pun intended. All the magical stuff, all this has been going on. Meanwhile, you have the rest of the normal Marvel universe, and then you have the unnamed person, because I'm using air quotes, which is the Ancient One, and then you have Wong and Nightmare and all these characters that we do become very familiar with during the course of Doctor Strange's illustrious career, that you finally see them, these first appearances where they, the art style was very period specific. Like you could tell, like, okay, this was drawn during this period of time. You look at Doctor Strange now and Doctor Strange then, they don't look like the same person, which obviously,
no, not at all.
Obviously every artist is different. I get that. But even just facially, like you would think these were two totally different people. So it's kind of an interesting, I think it'd be cool. And I'm putting this out into the universe that sort of like the Batmans or the Jokers, this is really just another Strange that we've never met before. This is a different, iteration of Doctor Strange. And he's still Stephen Strange. He's just, a variant of the character.
All right. I actually thought that it was really cool. Like I've read the first appearance a few times. I read it a few years ago, and I really like it because they put so much into such a small amount of, I guess you could call it real estate. I don't know, book real estate. It's like you got this guy, he calls on Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange goes and he sees his master, the unnamed Ancient One as of now. He goes into the dream. He gets in trouble in the dream. The guy who he's trying to help tries to kill him. He has to call, and like there's so much stuff that just happens in these 5 pages. And the amazing part about it to me is that it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel like oh, this happens, and like, okay, we need to cram everything into 5 pages. They somehow managed to make it feel like it was just evenly paced the entire time, and I thought that was really good. Now
I will say the eye hypnotizing the guy when he woke up seemed a little forced, but otherwise I would agree with you. The pacing of the story was actually done very well.
Well, it is Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, so you're going to get good stuff.
True.
I don't know if I necessarily agree that it felt forced. It was definitely set up.
Well,
for
rushed.
Sure.
Yeah.
It was set up because like his master said, if you find yourself in danger, use your amulet. And then he's like, I can't get to it. I need you to help me. And then we see this guy's power to like control the amulet from all the way across the world. I'm like, that's cool, man. I understand how you think it feels forced, but it's like they made that a part of the story anyway. So, that's cool. They didn't write themselves into a corner. It was only 5 pages. They could have redone it, but they decided, hey, you know what?
It's minor.
Yeah, so
it's very minor.
Yeah.
I will also add something real quick, because if you're wondering why Doctor Strange looks different, here, Ditko based him on Vincent Price.
Oh, 100%. I see that.
Yes,
that's 100%. I can see that.
Ditko was a big fan of Vincent's, and that's why he looks like Vincent Price here compared to what he would look like later.
Yeah. I understand that. Okay. Well, that's cool. I mean, yeah. I have a book of like the first, I don't know, 20 appearances of Doctor Strange, which I need to. Yeah, it's one of those like Marvel Masters books.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's smaller than the original comic book, but it's cool because it's only like, I don't know, it's like $15, and it's all there in a book, so you don't have to read it on a tablet, and it doesn't cost like $60 like so many of those collections do. But I feel like I want to get more into Doctor Strange. I don't know a whole lot about his stories. Because one thing, like I tried to read his stories, there's a lot of like text. It's like mostly like
dialogue.
Mostly they are describing what is happening. Whereas with the other Marvel superheroes or even DC superheroes, you can kind of see what's happening and you don't need much of an explanation. So
it gets very wordy, yes, but it's definitely worth it for the artwork, especially the early stuff, John, where you really get to see, as I mentioned before, Ditko's psychedelic art. That is gorgeous to behold.
Oh yeah, no, it looks great. I've seen a lot of it. I've like looked at it and I've read like like certain panels. I have never really sat down and just read through like a Doctor Strange, like one of his own issues, which I would like to start doing based on this first appearance, because
there have been some very interesting runs. The last couple have been very well. He, spoilers, becomes the Sorcerer Supreme for Lady Death, which is insane. There's also another run prior to that where they show you more of the, as they allude to at points in, even in the Marvel universe, magic has some sort of cost. Well, in one of the stories, they actually kind of explain the costs, because there's like the Cult of Strange, and basically all these spells that Strange casts is supposed to have some sort of repercussion on the caster. Well, they figured out a way to, I guess, transfer that cost onto other people, so that way Strange can continue on. But things, he still gets, he has demonic parasites in his stomach. There's a little bit of, comedy and, things of that nature. And it's cool to see the character evolve and adjust with the times. So if you do like the Doctor Strange, and, I guess this will go part of my recommendations, do check out a lot more of the newer stories. I personally, while I like the 2023 run of Doctor Strange, story-wise, I do not like the artwork, and it's very distracting to me. It almost seems like a downgrade in terms of appearance. But again, that's me. I'm a visual person. The story is actually really cool, but a lot of the artwork, not all of it, is kind of basic.
Also, you have to check out Doctor Strange acting as mystical obstetrician when it comes to delivering Scarlet Witch's babies.
Oh, that's fair. That's another
mystical
one.
Obstetrician. Is that like a band name now? Like I'll if it's not, I'll take it.
You should take that. That's 100%.
That band right now. Yes. So you just reminded me of something that I was going to say, and then I forgot to say, and I'm going to say it now. So
say it.
So I'll say it. You guys were saying like, it's like to this day you still never see Doctor Strange's first interaction or encounter with Nightmare. His backstory is that it seemed like he was a surgeon in the early 60s. So how long ago could it have possibly been? He's like my ancient foe who, I've only been Doctor Strange for like a couple of years. So I don't know.
It was the 60s. People were getting high.
Yeah, it's true.
Hang on. So in the new run, 2023, there was another iteration of Doctor Strange. He's General Strange, and he is 5,000 years old.
Whoa!
Yeah,
that's old.
That's old. So theoretically, he could have battled Nightmare numerous times, and this is more of a recent discovery, because there's a story going on, and spoilers to everybody. He does come across this other Strange, and this is General Strange, and he works for the Vishanti, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, he's 5,000 years old, and he's been doing battles for whatever the reason is for a very long period of time. So hypothetically, and he does have a run-in with Nightmare in this story. So it's very possible that this older iteration could be the one that, he weirdly refers to before it even happened.
The original origin of Doctor Strange is that he was a surgeon and he got into an accident and he lost the use of his hands. But I want to see like a retconned story where Doctor Strange was just born as Doctor Strange, and you could see I want to see like like Lil Doctor Strange when he's like 7 or 8 years old. And
So he
he's doing all
sneezes and just blows
and
a
he
hole in the
sneezes.
house.
Yeah, I want to see that. I would read that book 100%. And he was like calling everyone hoary and all that. I want to see it because that would blow my mind.
It would be kind of cool. It
would
be kind of cool. Yeah, if we saw him like raised in Carmitage as soon as he was a baby and everything else, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right. Well, I guess that ought to just about do it for this Doctor Strange episode.
I just would like to add one quick thing, John. I did think it was hilarious that in this case he was the master of black magic before he became the master of mystic arts, because back then black magic was cool, if you will.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
Random side note.
Nice, excellent. Anyone else have any closing thoughts?
John, I'd just like to say, as far as seeing what the younger magicians would be doing, there has been a book over the past couple of years called Strange Academy, which
That's
I think
a good one.
Would be up your alley, where we're seeing the younger magicians of the Marvel Universe get into all sorts of trouble.
Nice.
Dormammu's son's in it.
Dormammu!
And I think Doctor Strange is actually dead at the beginning of the run, but he's back by the time it's going on now, I think.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around. I think he's alive at the beginning, dead, because it's kind of...
Yeah.
Because they have a first run and a second run. It's like they do a time jump. That's why.
Yep.
It would make more sense if he's alive at the beginning and then dead at the end. It'd be like if it was the other way around. No?
Not Marvel you.
Have you met Doctor Strange?
Then have you met the Marvel comics? People die and come back at the drop of a hat.
Have you met Marvel Comics? I mean, I have a box with a bunch of comics in it. So yeah, that's my closing note is that I love Doctor Strange in a team. He was in the Defenders, right? He was in the Defenders, and I've seen him do like Marvel Team Up, Marvel 2-in-1. I love to see Doctor Strange paired up with other characters in the Marvel universe because it's just funny to me, especially with characters like the Thing, who is like the polar opposite of Doctor Strange. He's just like this like gruff dude, and he's like, I'm made of rocks, and I'm gonna punch you out, and I'm gonna talk like a Brooklynite. Whereas Doctor Strange uses magic and powers and stuff like that, and talks very wordily. So I like that kind of stuff, right? Very wordily. He's loquacious, I guess you could say.
Well, no surprise. He's part of like the Marvel Mensa, if you will, which is like the Illuminati, where all the smart people are.
Mm-hmm. So I still have yet to read the Avengers versus Defenders story from the 70s. I think that was like 1973 or 4 or something like that. I intend to read that because I would love to do an episode on that one eventually. And I guess that then will conclude our Doctor Strange first appearance episode. Let's go, just for shits and giggles, let's go around and do plugs again. Nick, where can we find you?
Well, folks, you can find me on my radio show, Whiskey and Cigarettes, where we play today's country, traditional country, and everything else in between. And for about that, you can visit our website, which is whiskeyandcigarettesshow.com. This time I will leave a plug for Keith. You can find myself, Zan Sprouse, and Rachel Friend on Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast. We're reviewing all the best picture winners in chronological order. And last, but certainly not least, myself and Charles Skaggs, if you're fans of superhero TV shows, can be found on the Fandom Zone, where we're reviewing all sorts of superhero TV shows from the MCU to other stuff. We recently did Superman and Lois. We'll be doing Loki Season 2 and all the other stuff when it comes out and when the strike ends. So that's me.
When the strike ends. That damn strike that's like putting all the new seasons of shows off for an entire year. Fucking
or longer.
Strikes. Unstrike already. Give them the money that they want so we can watch our TV. God damn it. Like our lazy American asses want to. So anyway.
Tell us how you really feel, John. Don't hold back on our account.
I'd be cursing a lot more if this wasn't, like a children's network podcast.
Exactly. We're gonna keep this PG-ish.
So Keith, you wanna talk about how you don't have any plugs?
I have no plugs, and I'm bald too. Hey, dun.
Hey!
Hey-o!
All right.
But you do have a plug now, Keith, though.
I do. Yeah. But I gotta make a hair joke at least once an episode. It's in my contract.
It's true. He's
Contractually obligated. Just like our friend Greg Vorab has to be on everything Batman related.
Everything Batman, yes. Yeah, Keith gets a fine up to $10,000 if he does not make a ball joke. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's horrible.
It's in the contract. I don't know why you signed that, but hey, you know what?
I should have read the really in Willy Wonka. I didn't read the really fine print.
Did you know, by the way, speaking of, there is actually a Willy Wonka prequel now. It's coming out. So,
yes, I do.
So that's something else to look forward to. And Jason, your plugs.
I didn't even make my plug.
Make your plug.
No, it's okay. You've already hurt my feelings.
All right.
Move on.
Jason, plug.
You can find me on Facebook, Jason Gurin, Gurin. Join Comic Book Villains over there. And on Discord, you can find me at Comic Book Addicts. And I am also very excited for Loki Season 2. Thank goodness we are getting some new TV.
Nice. Me, John Seymour, Facebook. I am standing next to a door with holding up a sign that says First Day of Grad School. I'm wearing a Fantastic Four shirt. That's me on Facebook. Find me on Bullshit Hour with John Seymour, my other podcast. Email into this show. The Hour of Comics is upon us at gmail.com. Send me your ideas. Tell me you want to be a guest. And we'll chat. And that will be that. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you, Keith. And thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
And good night, everyone. This was a whole lot of fun tonight. Good night.